plateau and a mountain is a plateau. Top is more flat and shorter.
Change of a solid into a liquid when heat is applied.
Content and Language Integrated Learning, kısa adıyla CLIL, Türkçe'ye içerik ve dilin bütünleşik olduğu öğrenim olarak çevrilmekte ve dil öğreniminde dünyada önde gelen metotlar arasında bulunmaktadır.
Evaporation and sky.
X plus 7.
Eraslan Bilim Ortaokulu'nda CLIL, Yabancı Dil Edinim Programımız dahilinde fen, matematik, sosyal bilgiler gibi derslerin İngilizce olarak öğrenimine, dil ve içeriğin dengeli şekilde işlenip her iki alanda da kazanım odaklarının doğal bağlamında gerçekleşmesini kapsar. Kültürel farkındalık, dil yeterliliği, öğrenmeye artan ilgi ve motivasyonun yanı sıra CLIL dersleri öğrencileri hem akademik hem de profesyonel hayata hazırlar. İçerik odaklı CLIL sınıfları sınıfa ekstra bir boyut katar ve öğrencilerin ilgisini çeker. Böylelikle öğrenimi hızlandırarak üst bilişsel düşünme becerilerini teşvik eder. Öğrenciler tekrar benzer dil ve dil işlevlerine maruz kaldıklarından hedef dilde bilgi üretmeleri, dili keşfetmeleri ve kullanımlarında edinimi bir adım öne taşır. CLIL ayrıca öğrencileri eleştirel düşünme, yaratıcı olma, iletişim kurma ve işbirliği yapma gibi 21. yüzyıl becerilerini geliştirmeyi teşvik eder.
How many protons we have? How many neutrons we have? And neutrons, protons are held together by the strong force in the middle of atom, in nucleus.
It has 54 protons and neutrons.
Öğrencilerimizi geleceğe ve okulumuzu geleceğin öğrencilerine hazırlarken CLIL programımızı alanına hakim danışmanlardan aldığımız desteklerle her sene güncelleyip güçlendiriyoruz.
Some time ago we realized as educators that we needed to find ways of teaching and learning English more quickly and more efficiently. And the reason for that was because of the popular demand for learning English. Something like 1.5 billion people speak English in the world now, and there is an increasing demand for it. So as a result of that, a number of approaches to teaching English evolved, mostly involving what we call dual focus, which means a focus on language and a focus on subject at the same time. So the CLIL program at Eraslan is based on that approach. Students have their language lessons, normal language lessons. Students have their subject lessons, maths, social science and so on. And their CLIL lessons provide a bridge between the two. So basically in a CLIL lesson at Eraslan, students are using English to talk about subjects that they already have some knowledge of. And for that reason, they are very confident, they're very keen to participate, they're very enthusiastic and very successful in the amount of language that they produce. Imagine that you are a student in a classroom and your teacher is asking you to speak English about a particular subject. Now, in the past, when that happens, very often students are asked to talk about things that they don't know about. So in their English lessons, for example, they might be asked to talk about global warming or about travel or about the environment or whatever. And at that age, and we're talking about middle school, children don't have that much global knowledge. So first of all, they find it very difficult to think of things to talk about, and secondly, they've got to transfer that knowledge into English. Now, the point about the CLIL lessons is that they already know something about the subject matter from their subject lessons, and they already have the language to talk about it, so that in the CLIL classroom, they feel very comfortable, they feel very confident, they have the knowledge and they have the language to do a good job. And what I've noticed in the lessons is that the students are very willing, very enthusiastic to use English to talk about those subjects simply because they have something to talk about, and that is very important. There are many different approaches to teaching and learning English. But the fundamental difference between all those approaches is between language acquisition and language learning. Now, language acquisition is, for example, when you learn your own language. So you hear it, you copy it, and you learn it according to your needs. So when you want something to eat, you learn how to ask for food. When you need to do something, you learn to ask how to do it. Language learning, on the other hand, is much more formal. It's what we used to do and what we still do in schools. So we learn from a book, we study. What we know from research and previous experience is that language acquisition is much more effective than language learning. Now, for language acquisition to occur, language has to be taught and learnt in a natural context. And what CLIL does is to provide at least part of that context by providing a background of knowledge and a background of language which the students feel comfortable in. So when they're speaking and when they're learning in their CLIL lessons, they are acquiring more language to talk about a particular subject, and they are also revising and recycling subject matter that they had in their maths lessons, their science lessons and their social science lessons. So it's an effective way of learning. It's not quite language acquisition, but it's much more natural than standard language learning. I can explain the positive sides of the atmosphere in those lessons. I don't think I have ever been in classrooms where students are so enthusiastic and so positive about using English in the classroom. And that's because they have the subject knowledge, they have the language knowledge, and they feel confident and they feel motivated. What's interesting about it, and what I've noticed in all the lessons that I've watched, firstly is how well behaved the students are, simply because they are totally involved in the lesson. Secondly, they're not trying to translate. They're speaking English fluently and naturally in most cases. The atmosphere is created by a combination of the students' attitude, their confidence and so on, and the very careful planning from the teachers. Teachers plan very engaging lessons. We know from research that students at that age have an attention span of about 12-15 minutes. So that means that in a lesson of, say, 45 minutes, there has to be a number of changes of focus. So teachers plan engaging, interesting activities to ensure that students remain engaged during the lesson. One final thing, and that is that at the end, or towards the end of each lesson that I've watched, there tends to be some kind of mini project where students work together in a group to achieve something. They may draw something, they may write something, they may even make something, which involves not only using the language, not only using the subject content, but also what we call collaborative learning. They're learning from each other, they're cooperating, they're using their social skills. So in a lesson like that, you have everything, and it's extremely successful.